What's going on, everybody? This is Josh back again with another video on Tech and Ish. Today's video is going to be about ABC's new TV show called Grand Hotel. The season just ended, so this is kind of going to be a little recap slash review kind of thing. I'm going to drop some spoilers on you, so if you want to watch this TV show, I'll drop a little bit of stuff first, and then if it intrigues you, you should stop it right afterwards because some spoilers are going to end up coming up. So it's basically a family-owned hotel. Eva Longoria produced it, and she also stars in it. She only has a couple parts in it, and there's kind of like a mystery that happens there. There is this chef named Sky. In the beginning of the episode, there's like this hurricane that's coming through. You see Sky running out of the hotel, and she's frantically screaming, saying, "Leave me alone." And she ends up kind of like getting hit on the head. You don't know if she's dead or she's just missing. So it kind of goes off from there and trying to figure out what's going on. Her brother actually ends up going to go visit the hotel because he received a voicemail from Sky saying that she found something, and she kind of like left him a voicemail. Didn't really give him that much detail, but you can tell that she was scared. So her brother hasn't heard from her, so he decides to go visit the hotel and try to figure out what's going on. He obviously isn't getting any answers because the police is no longer investigating it. They just see it as a missing person who's gone missing within the hurricane. So they're, it's kind of like what's going on. Maybe the police are in on it. So, it keeps on going from there. The brother's name is Danny, so he's obviously not getting any information from the cops, so the only thing he can do is actually go undercover into the hotel. So he ends up applying for a job where he's kind of like a waiter slash busboy slash, a person who can basically help out. And in the episode of him getting the job, he ends up almost getting fired. The only reason why he didn't get fired is because he ended up kind of like saving the owner of the hotel. The owner of the hotel is Santiago. Santiago is married to Gigi, which is Eva Longoria's best friend in the TV show. Eva Longoria does play in that TV show a little bit. Her name's Beatrice. And now I'm about to drop a spoiler on you, all right? So in this TV show, she is dead. So they kind of go back and forth. You see Eva Longoria coming in once in a while, but she is dead in this TV show, and it doesn't explain it until like maybe the 10th episode. That's when you actually figure out what actually happened to her. So Danny is basically undercover, trying to find out what happened to his sister, and in the mix of him finding out what happened to his sister, he ends up finding out other things about people who are in that hotel. He ends up finding out that his sister was a lesbian who was dating one of Santiago's wife, Gigi, one of her daughters. They're actually twins. They look nothing alike, so but they're basically twins in this TV show. And Sky was dating one of them. She was actually on the down low. She wasn't letting anybody know her status. Everybody thought she was straight. And she basically kind of like lets that out that she ends up being a lesbian and kind of like in the middle of the series. So he basically kind of threw that out because he wanted to know what happened to Sky, and he thought that maybe she might know something, but obviously she doesn't really know much about it. She just thinks that she ran away with money. So Danny ends up falling in love, or kind of like liking Santiago's daughter. Santiago has a daughter and a son. Their names are Javi and Alicia. So he ends up having, 2 kids from being married to Eva Longoria. And he's basically raising them with Gigi and the other 2 kids. Now, they're all grown up. They all have some part in the hotel. Javi is just like this young adult male who's basically just sleeping around, kind of like rebelling a little bit because he actually got his leg cut off. Kind of explains that a little bit more into episode of why he actually got it cut off. And it's kind of like why he is the way he is. So to kind of like fast forward a little bit, like I said, Danny is there trying to figure out what happened to Sky. And he is finding out little by little that certain people are involved or certain people know things. And once you kind of get to like the middle of it, it kind of gets a little bit better. There is certain things that kind of happen between the episodes of other people. You have Ingrid, who got pregnant by one of the staff there. The staff is telling her that he doesn't want nothing to do with the baby, so she has to figure out what else to do with it. Ingrid decides to basically say that she was pregnant by Javi. Javi obviously doesn't even know if he ends up sleeping with her because he's always drunk and he's just sleeping with random girls. So, that kind of plays out in there as well. I mean, obviously the plan doesn't go the way she thought it would go, but, you have to watch that as it keeps on going. Now, Danny ends up finding out that the police are basically being paid off by Santiago and like the loan shark people. The loan shark are obviously helping them out with letting this thing go away. That way they can make sure that they get their money. The loan shark is basically Teresa. She ends up kind of like putting an inside man in the hotel named Mateo. And she basically tells him that when he needs to make a payment, Santiago is going to give the money to Mateo, and Mateo will give it to Teresa. And it kind of just flows like that. Danny ends up finding out that situation of what's going on there. He thinks that maybe Sky got killed because he actually found out what's going on. It basically turns out that it has nothing to do with Sky, about the whole loan shark thing. They didn't kill her for that reason, for finding out that Santiago owes money. It ends up being about another thing. Now here comes the spoiler. So the thing that she ends up finding out, that Santiago actually has another son, and you end up finding out who that son is at the very end. I couldn't even believe it. It never crossed my mind that this would actually be his son, and the person who he actually slept with. I didn't even think like that, because I thought that this person portrayed herself to be like this faithful person who was in love with her husband. And obviously that wasn't the case within that time. So Danny ends up kind of like telling his secret to Alicia, because they basically ended up getting close to each other. He started falling for her. So he decided to tell her everything. She obviously got mad and didn't want him to be there anymore. So she kind of tried to fire him, but that didn't work out. So she kind of like just parted ways from him. She told him, just leave me alone. Danny still was trying to talk to her, still was trying to figure out if he can still be with her, even though she knows the truth. And then you end up finding out what happened to Eva Longoria. Turns out that she actually committed suicide. She took a whole bunch of pills and she basically killed herself that way. But the autopsy showed that she had a heart attack. The main reason why this happened was because Santiago didn't want his kids to find out how she died. And she basically was bipolar. So, she would always end up having her episodes if she ended up coming off her medication. And that's kind of how she ended up losing millions of dollars, because she ended up investing into a person who ended up stealing money from them. So she's thinking that her disease is not that bad until she ends up committing so many mistakes. And Santiago ends up telling her that he was actually unfaithful to Eva Longoria one time because of this whole situation, because he didn't know at the time what was going on with her. Once he figured out that she was bipolar, that's when he kind of like was trying to invest all of his time into this. Now, I was thinking that Santiago ended up sleeping with her best friend, which was Gigi, which is who they're actually together with. It actually turns out that he ended up sleeping with Helen. She's the manager of all the staff. She ends up having a son named Jason. So this was kind of like the secret that she found out, because Eva Longoria killed herself. She left a letter by her deathbed, basically, but Gigi ended up hiding that letter. And Sky found out about that letter. She blackmailed Gigi, saying that if you don't give me enough money, I'm going to go tell Jason, because he deserves to know. Now, Gigi didn't want to pay, so she was trying everything she can to get the letter back, but obviously that didn't work. Gigi and Helen were actually talking to each other to try to figure out what they can do to get the letter back. So it kind of like makes you seem like Helen was the one who killed her because Gigi didn't do anything. It turns out Gigi didn't do anything. Gigi and Helen are talking to each other, but she didn't do anything. She ends up having blood on her dress, but you find out how that blood actually got there. And the person who actually killed Sky was Malcolm, because Malcolm already had it in his head that Jason wasn't his. He had some doubt, but once he overheard Gigi and Helen talking, that's when it came up like, oh, he really isn't my son. But he did not want Sky to reveal that secret. So he basically killed her. Now he's saying he didn't mean to, but he basically hit her over the head with a stick and she bust her head open and she basically died. Danny ends up finding out who actually killed his sister, but he doesn't turn him in. Main reason why is because Malcolm, he's already dying. He has cancer and the cancer has already gone up to his head and he's basically gonna die. And I'm going to kind of like put a little screenshot maybe here or here, either one, whichever I prefer. So you end up kind of like seeing what happened to him. He just basically dies from having cancer, but the secret doesn't die with Malcolm because now Santiago knows, Danny knows, Alicia knows, Gigi knows, and Helen knows. So every single one of them know that Santiago is the father of Jason. So Santiago goes up to Jason, tries to kind of like build some type of relationship with him, and he is kind of, it kind of talks about him changing his will, that now he's going to end up changing his will to include Jason on there. It kind of gave that idea. I don't know if he actually did it or not, but you don't really hear him talk about Jason was added to the will. But you kind of have a little feeling that something's going to happen to Santiago. I mean, I already knew what was going to happen to him. I was hoping it wasn't going to happen, but I knew what was going to happen just of the way things were going. You end up seeing Mateo. He ends up getting fired by Santiago. So he kind of gives off a look like he needs to finish something before he's done with everything. You see Gigi's husband, ex-husband, the one who actually stole the millions that Eva Longoria gave to him. He ends up saying that if Santiago dies, then his kids get millions of dollars. So you kind of get an idea of what's going on, of what's actually going to happen. Then you see Helen give Santiago a look saying that she doesn't want him to tell Jason anything about the truth. So you know where I'm going with this. Towards the end, Santiago gets killed. And you kind of figure out that it's maybe one of these three characters. And he basically starts going down to where Helen is at. He calls Helen. He tells her, hey, I need to talk to you because Jason needs to know the truth. He goes down there. All the lights are turned off. Helen is not even there. And a gunshot is... And he is basically shot from across the room. It hit him like right in the stomach. And he basically dies. And that's basically how it ended. So it kind of ended off in a cliffhanger. So I'm hoping it gets picked up for season 2. I don't think it will. I mean, IMDb rated this like a 6.3, 6.9. So I don't think it will get picked up for another season. I'm hoping it does because I actually like this version a lot. A lot of people are talking about that this is just like Netflix's series, which is the same name, Grand Hotel, but it's all in Spanish. I saw the trailer of it and I didn't like it. I mean, I like the fact that it's in Spanish, but I didn't like the way it was. It makes it seem like it's in like inside a castle and you got all these people wearing butler suits, and I just really didn't like the way the whole thing was. Grand Hotel from ABC was a lot better. You got to check it out. It's really something good to watch. So that's basically kind of like my thoughts and my review on Grand Hotel. I think it's a great show to watch. You should definitely check it out. And I'm hoping it gets picked up for season 2. If it does, I'll definitely bring it up on this. So keep in tune to my channel to figure out what's going on. Like, subscribe, comment on this video. Let me know how I'm doing. Until the next time, peace.